Peace, y'all. This is Star with the Star Bloom. So, this is the second video to Keys. I actually had intended on saying this first because it's basically the loudest that I could feel. And my baby started singing, the music started playing like a little bit before, and I'm rocking like crazy. Um, One of the things that I recognize when I discovered like this whole journey that I was on and recognize it to be a journey because I didn't know. I swear to you, you don't know until you know. But I recognized that there was a giant in the room. And a lot of the times it becomes complex when we try to share things that we internalize for so long because we've perfected the internal stance and we don't know how to really delegate the information externally in a profound way so it could be perceived because we have the desire for it to be received at the same rate that we integrated it within ourselves, and it's not necessary. The giant for many of us can be many different things, but for me it was my inner child. A lot of the times we're in spaces where we believe if we ignore something, then for some reason, because we don't pay attention to it, because we don't acknowledge it, we don't live in this space where we give it the opportunity to actually, yeah, be perceived, addressed, digest, consumed, that it will dissolve, disintegrate, that it won't apply, that things will get better. This shows up in so many different ways. When I started to hearing people upon waking up within myself, recognizing that there was so much more to me than my previous understanding, that a lot of the misunderstandings that I had or misconceptions that I had, mislabelings that I had lived in weren't really those of my own making. I recognized that a lot of things would always go back to my childhood. And when I would hear people say things like, there's bees and wasps outside my window. Very, very conducive to what I'm talking about. And then the song, okay, because it gets good once you have it. Like when you have it and you truly allow yourself to be in a rate to where you're not in resistance anymore, it's like a full receipt. And when I say full receipt, y'all, sometimes you ever go somewhere, you purchase things, and then it's like the bottom of the receipt rips off, and you might not have the things that are on the part that ripped off, but you paid for them. Good God, that's what I mean. Okay, you want to be able to have full, full representation, full inventory of what is present within you, and you get to. But sometimes when there's a giant in this space, right? You're not looking at it in the small things perspective as the giant is what needs to be addressed. You're looking at the giant needing to be controlled. It creates chaos every time it moves around. It's destruction 353. It's causing, you know, it's tearing things up. It's it's making it hard to deal with, to live with certain things, right? And we recognize constantly in these spaces where we're wanting to box in something that we believe to be too big to deal with, that it'd be better for it to be stationary, silent, still, right? In the position that we perceive it needs to be because we're aware of what posture we could kind of conform to in this rate. We allow ourselves to constantly be in this rhetoric of controlling things that we feel like get out of hand that keep us from showing up and not actually being, because we can't really be in the spaces that we find ourselves to be present in because we're constantly wanting to move ahead towards the present future instead of representing the present now. what I found in silence, which is a key that my inner child gave to me, is that regardless of what it was that I wanted to basically condition for myself in this noun rate, because I didn't allow myself to fully see, to fully give my awareness to what had been, that I wasn't being, or even allowing myself to fully recognize what I had become, because I actually was only existing in a space that I felt like was for the time being. What I mean by that, when we see giants nowadays in our time in this construct, we believe that we're speaking about fairy tales. Another rate of perspective, you could say, like the elephant in the room. You know, it's not really something that you could decorate to hide, but we do well in this space of decorating to hide things. And we put on fronts of what we want people to see of us. We put on fronts of what we believe people desire to experience with us. We allow ourselves to be at this constant rate of constantly, and when I say constant, I'm saying it so many times because it's like something that we ritualize in masking, because we've recognized that on so many levels, not being sensitive enough in the spaces that we believe are too big forces us to be hard in the parts that we desire to be soft and gentle at. And we can't really gather ourselves completely because anytime we move, it moves. And it becomes the it thing that is in the way, creating chaos, causing us to be restricted in spaces that we believe that we are to grow in. But you can't grow beyond the thing that you've created as a giant, that you allowed to stand over you, that you create rates of authority over, wanting to speak to it at the rate of dealing, because you've convinced yourself that the little things are more important and pertinent to you than the big thing that you've had to basically forget, not recognizing that it was stationed in tissues and in memories that were traumatizing to you, that you'll never be able to remove yourself from. Especially, it goes on, y'all, okay? When you're dealing with your inner child, it's such a gift right there, even as an adult. But more so for me, is being an adult with a child, recognizing how much I alter how she is, who she is, how much I contribute to the ways that she wants to show up, to her imagination, how much I pass down and pass over to her because of my desire or non-desire to transmute certain things. My understanding of my inner child opened up a pathway for me to basically cancel, delete, and void certain contracts that were meant to be curses for me over my life. The giant for me was self-worth. I recognized that within my family, I didn't feel worthy to be present with them. My whole life, I had always fought for positions that I seen my parents, my siblings, family members give easily to who I considered to be strangers, but yet it was never enough for me. It was never a space that was put aside to make sure that there was a certain allotment that I would get to receive. That affects your account of self and how you integrate into other spaces. It affects how you show up. It affects this desire to want to constantly give, feeling like maybe you have to give more for you to finally be seen. And when you deal with your inner child, you recognize that even on the smallest days when you didn't have anything, your presence was more than enough. And a lot of the times, you be the kids, you be the adults, you be the people, the person that always shows up giving, because you operate from